Hello and welcome to Planner Unplugged, the podcast series where we shine a light on the world of financial advice. I'm Katie Pigden, Content Director at Octo Members, and I'm looking forward to hearing from financial planners and advisors about how they entered the profession, what they love most about their job, how clients can benefit from financial planning, and what they would suggest to those looking at joining the profession. There'll be plenty more along the way too. After a short break for the summer, we're back with an incredible lineup of guests, and I can't wait to share their stories with you over the coming weeks with the support of our content partner, Scottish Widows. I'll allow my guests to introduce themselves if that's all right. Kate, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kate Evans, and I will say that I help people breathe easy about money. So I am the founder of Exhale Financial Planning, which is nearly 3 weeks old.
There we go. See, Kate, so right, a newbie, I think, which is why I pounced on you when I saw some of your posts appear on LinkedIn about what you're doing. So can you give me a little insight as to, obviously, you've said a little bit about the tagline and the name of the company, how that's come about and, what you plan to do?
Yeah, so in terms of how it came about, I think for me, setting up my own business as part of my own financial plan, whether or not rightly or wrongly it will give me the flexibility in the future that I'm after, I don't know. But I work off the ethos that you've got to give things a try. So
Yep.
what's the worst that can happen? So
Yeah.
I thought I'd set up my own financial planning business.
Oh, fantastic. So what's your background then? Because tell our listeners a little bit about what your business specialises in from what I can gather.
Yeah, so my background is, oh, well, I've started out after university in procurement and supply chain. So worked in those kind of roles and then ended up doing that in a retail business, so Sainsbury's, for 5 years. And then fortunately, found a great financial planner that after 2 years of listening to me say it pays the bills and it's just a job, um,
Yeah.
did some cash flow planning to show that I could potentially change careers. And I thought financial planning sounds like a brilliant opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's how I found myself in financial planning. So when I set up my own business, I thought, let's go niche. I know it's a bit of a buzzword, and people always have the argument or the conversation, should you or shouldn't you? And I thought I'd give it a try. And I really want to help people in that mid to senior leader level working in large retailers, so similar to where I finished my old career, so kind of
Yeah.
Sainsbury's, Marks and Spencers of the world.
So a lot of people I've been speaking to, we tend to use that word sort of stumbled into financial services. So obviously great, someone like you, got yourself a financial planner, but what was it about it that enticed you to think, I'm actually going to change career and join that?
I think I put together a pros and cons list, and actually, a lot of what I did in my old career was very similar. So I'd liken it to kind of problem solving, really. You've got the evidence that's given to you, and you've got this opportunity to create something for someone else. And I always wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up. Um, and so that passion for helping people is really something that kind of gets me out of bed in the morning and kind of wanting to go to work. So
Yeah.
when I'd kind of seen the benefit for me, so my job was interesting, but it wasn't fulfilling and it didn't give me purpose. And the thought of doing it for another 20 years was going to be a bit of a, do I have to?
Yeah.
That ability to be able to sit in front of someone and then potentially change their life. I was like, that kind of ticks the I can
Yeah.
help people box with the analytical approach that I kind of had in my previous job, and was the part of it that I did love.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many skills that planners have that they can bring to someone's life as well, but just sort of those softer skills, but also other things that you've learned elsewhere. There's a lot that the profession can then bring to people. So you said 3 weeks into your new one. How are you going about trying to build that client base of yours? I suppose you might still have contacts in the world of where you worked previously, but what's the plan with that?
Oh, this is everybody's favorite question to ask me. How am I going to go and get clients? Um, I think I've got a bit of a three-pronged attack, really, which is predominantly LinkedIn
Yeah.
and making helpful content. I think financial planning ends up in this space where people on the other side, so clients, don't really actually know what we do from the beginning. So I kind of want to put as much content out there as possible that kind of demystifies it. And like this week, I've had a couple of people reach out from LinkedIn using words like they're embarrassed because they don't know the logins to their pensions, they've never looked at it. So really kind of making people comfortable and knowing what to expect. You're about to talk about something that is you might not have spoken to anyone else about money, and you want to make sure you're in that comfortable place. So that's kind of one lens. I'm going to try and do some free guides, so help people understand in some of those kind of bigger companies what their benefit packages are,
Yeah.
and just help them have some information to hand that isn't in kind of corporate jargon. Um, and hopefully, if I can get round to just biting the bullet, uh, some maybe short YouTube videos, again putting that same content out there, but just in a different format.
I think that that's so important, that sort of educational piece, really, because like you said, there's a lot of people that have no idea what a financial planner even is, let alone what they do and how they can help people and how they can benefit from that. And, for me as well, when I first started writing about financial advice, I have to admit to my colleagues, I've not done this before. I don't, I'm hoping my journalism skills from elsewhere can carry me through, but it's like learning a new language with all this acronyms and regulation and whatever else there may be. So how can we sort of try and get the message out there, it goes guess a little bit further, to show people this is what financial planning is, this is what a financial planner does, and where you sort of mentioned that word niche, where people could sort of find actually that's exactly the right fit for me, I'm in that line of work, and would love to see someone like Kate to talk about my pension and my I don't think people want to talk about pensions as such, do they? But they want to talk about what they want to achieve.
But I think that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because we want people to talk about what they want to achieve, but they're not thinking that in the first instant. I don't think. I could be completely wrong and happy to have that debate. But I look at my own experience. I didn't go into picking a financial planner to work with because I wanted to career change. I picked
Yeah.
a financial planner because I was earning good money and I didn't really know what to do with it. I'd got a collection of pensions and I just wanted to make sure I was getting the most out of them. So I think communicating to clients with the problems that they've got in front of them, which is my pension statement's just landed through the post and I don't even know what it means, or I've got a bonus, or I've got some shares that I've been given as part of my package. I think they're the things that they're automatically thinking about, which is what do I do with this? And I think you've then got the opportunity to kind of take it further and then explain that that's going to get them their goals and try and connect the dots there, because I don't think they're always connected.
No, I think, I don't think many of us wake up in the morning and probably know exactly how we want to map out the rest of our lives anyway, or what we're sort of doing. Like you said, it took some of those conversations. And I think part of that with financial planning is building up that rapport and connection with someone so that they do feel comfortable enough to actually say, "Do you know what, I don't know if I want to be stuck in this job. It's fine and it is paying the bills, but it's not making me want to get out of bed in the morning to, yes, I can't wait for this day."
And I also think it's fine if you're really happy in the job that you want to do. So people always say you're gonna target career changes. I'm like, no, it was just that retail wasn't for me. But
Yes.
a lot of people in retail are kind of in those head office positions. They're absolutely born into it and love it. And I
Yeah.
think it's also okay that if you don't want to do anything big, it's just you've got so many layers of stress in your life. How do you take the money worry away? Because I
Yeah.
think if you take that aspect and you know that that's okay and that you're going to be fine, then you've got more energy, more brain capacity and kind of focus to be able to either smash your career even more and kind of take that next step up, or spend some more time on the weekend with your family knowing that it's not a worry that you've got.
Yeah, I think you're so right. That sort of money headache, really, where it's like, oh, I don't actually know what this means. And like I said, people say that they feel embarrassed, that they feel that they should know what this is. And there's not necessarily a reason why we should. I don't remember learning too much of this in school or how that was going to work. You know, there are certain things you do. My understanding is financial education is a little bit more on the curriculum than it used to be, but I think, you know, we're relying on certain people to teach that in a certain way, and probably a lot of the practical skills when you come out going, okay, so how does this work in terms of rent, mortgage, pension contributions, any of these things, completely oblivious.
Yeah, I smile when I think about my first exposure to kind of like stocks and shares. Was one of my jobs where my boss was going, oh, he was like a proper wheeler dealer type guy. He's
Yeah,
like, you need to get some stocks and shares, Kate. I'm like, okay. I had a bit of spare cash. And he just gave me this list. And now I look back on it, no, I would never have recommended any of them to a client today. But I
yeah,
suppose it got me a bit more interested to go, ah, if I put them in this, my money will grow. And that's better than doing nothing with it. So it
yeah,
kind of sparked a bit of interest in how do you kind of make your money work harder for you? Because, well, going to work is challenging enough in itself if you've got a stressful job. So let's make sure everything else that comes with it is kind of working for me.
yeah. Were you tempted to go a bit broader at first, Kate, or did you always sort of know actually this is the type of client that would be useful for me to be in that space to help?
Oh, everyone's got an opinion on this, haven't they?
Yeah,
I think I spoke to a lot, and I mean a lot of people, and then kind of just went, I think I'd rather try
yeah,
going narrow first, and then, do you know what? If it doesn't work, then I can go more broad.
yeah,
But I also think in targeting a certain type of person or a certain kind of segment, you're not saying no to other people. It just means that you've kind of got that targeted marketing that
yes.
is very, very specific. So it does pick up on people's problems that might not necessarily be relevant to somebody else.
Yeah, because my understanding with a lot of financial planners I speak to is a lot of their work comes from referrals. So I guess, you know, for you, if you start building up that client bank and they go, oh, you know, speak to their colleagues. Oh, I'm in a, you know, I've been talking to Kate and she's really helped transform and I now understand what my pension's doing and all of this sort of great stuff, then hopefully that will sort of be that knock-on effect for you. But equally, those people will be talking to maybe other family members or people outside of, you know, their work world as well. And so it may just get financial advice, financial planning in the spotlight a little bit more as well. Of okay, well, go and have a look. Kate
I
might not.
kind of think by default,
Yeah.
most of the clients that I've seen in the past have been couples. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to have a power couple of two people working in senior positions in retail all the time. So you're automatically going to end up working with one or one that is relevant to your niche, but
Yeah.
also one that isn't.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more being able to communicate with people on a wavelength that they're used to, having had that experience, I'm hoping kind of just gives me that bit more focus
Yeah.
rather than just trying to get any person, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. In terms of that, like we said about people being aware of where to look for financial planners, obviously there's a lot more content that is going out there now from yourself and others. But how did you go about finding a financial planner in the first place, and what should people do if they're listening and going, "Oh, yeah, I didn't know this was a thing."
I think I Googled, that was my starter for 10. And then there were a couple of podcasts that I ended up listening to. And for me, it wasn't really an issue about geography. I just
Yeah.
wanted to work with somebody that sounded like they knew what they were on about and also that I could relate to. So I found my financial planner by listening to probably 5 or 6 episodes of one of their podcasts.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it does just show that sort of content that's being put out there as well, it being absorbed by the end client
Hmm.
potentially, and that's a sort of insight into, oh, I think I'd get on well with that person. Because I think a lot of that with financial planning as well is you've got to feel that that's the right fit. And I suppose sometimes it's a case where you're not the right fit for a client, or they're not the right fit for you, I guess, as well on the flip side.
And I think that's really important. I'm quite happy if somebody doesn't think I'm the person for them,
Yeah.
because the biggest thing that's going to lead to a successful financial plan is being on board with your financial planner. You
Yeah.
could have the lowest cost, best qualified person in the world, but if you don't resonate with them and don't feel like you can take on board their advice,
Yeah.
then you might as well not have a financial planner. So
Yeah.
it's really important for you to find the best fit when you're a financial planner working with a client, and the other way around too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. What do you enjoy most then? Obviously, this is new, but what is the driving force for you then, Kate, in terms of your new business?
I think for me, it's just money's just a really big worry for most people, I would think. Not in the kind of hit you in the face, it's a worry all the time. But I
Yeah.
think there's just this niggle there, isn't there, that you kind of, oh, I should probably do that, but it's not at the top of the list. Or what what should I be doing with these pensions? And I think for me, it's just really being able to kind of show people what the art of the possible is. So by
Yeah.
taking the thing that they're worried about, applying it to how they want to live their life. Because as cheesy as it sounds, you only get one shot, don't you?
No,
I was listening to something this morning that said the only thing you can't buy is time.
yeah.
And for me, it's being able to show people what they could be doing. And then for me, the thing that really motivates me is then seeing them do that. There's nothing better than retiring someone or saying you could spend more and they go and book the holiday of their dreams, or they start treating the grandkids when they didn't think
Yeah.
they could. So it's just giving people confidence to be able to do what they want to do, and give them, I think, the permission, because most people know they can to a point. They're just scared or unsure, and they think they just want that little hand holding to go, actually, no, you're going to be all right. You go and do that.
It's true, isn't it? That sort of mindset. Like I think you said earlier, we don't tend to talk too much about sort of money. It's then that, oh, so I probably should be dealing with this, but I haven't. So maybe go and speak to a qualified person, but we're not speaking within our family often about these things either. So these worries and niggles that we do have, often sort of keeping to ourselves. And then when you've been in that sort of mindset maybe of thinking I better start saving for the future, or I'm doing this, it's then quite hard to sort of probably shift out of that and say it's okay to spend some of
Yeah.
that money as well and enjoy it.
It's kind of the favourite bit of my job, because more often than not, I'm in a position where I'm talking to clients in their annual reviews to go, you need to spend more money,
Yeah.
not you need to cut back. And I think people always think that they're going to have that conversation, which is stop spending. Whereas I've been sat in front of people for the last couple of years going, spend it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Let's work out how we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So where were you previously then, Kate, before deciding to set up this business in this way? What's
I
been
work for a directly authorised company in Solihull.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Okay. So that's been a journey for quite some time.
So I started in kind of financial planning about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So spent those 4 years with that business then.
Oh, brilliant. So we was mentioning about sort of people being aware of financial plan. Obviously, you decided to flip over to this because of the relationship with your financial planner, and it just made a few things click for you. So, bar obviously everyone in retail that's coming to you and then actually is deciding, yeah, do you know what? I do want to flip over. How can we encourage more people into the financial planning profession and make it more of that sort of career of choice rather than people talking about stumbling into it?
I think it probably starts off kind of very early career, doesn't it? Because I don't think most people know what a financial planner does. I've done quite a lot of kind of outreach where people will come and talk to me about wanting to be a financial planner, and they think it's an investment banker.
Right.
Or they're going to be wheeler dealering in stocks and shares down in London on the kind of the floor.
So there's still
Um,
a misconception around
yeah.
what it
So I
does.
think for me, it probably starts off kind of in schools, but just as that career path,
Yeah.
and to really understand how to do it. I also think it's an interesting one that you don't need a degree to become a financial planner.
Yeah.
So actually, as a pathway for people that don't want to go to university, it's a great kind of route and alternative to go and kind of have that opportunity to change people's lives.
Yeah, and I think it can be a pretty flexible career as well. From what I've heard from people within it, that it's, you can work around and you can do sort of things. And second career, it's not just great for young people, but also second careerists as well, second, third, whatever that may be, and just trying to show people, yep, this is what you can do.
And I think that the opportunity for second careerists is massive. It's just really difficult to kind of get into when you decide that you want to be a financial planner. I think if we look at the kind of makeup of businesses, like you've got me as a one woman band now, but you might have two or three people tend to take on somebody who's new to the profession and hasn't got that experience. You really got to have that kind of patience and capacity to be able to do that. So I think we kind of also need to focus on some better routes into different businesses. And I know there's lots of people talking about it. It's how do we actually make that a reality and take some of the burden off those businesses to be able to have that time and opportunity to take somebody that is doing or has done a second career into their business.
Yeah. As a one woman band, like you said, are there so many different hats that you're having to wear as well then? So obviously you can be brilliant at giving someone that, putting that plan in place for them and helping to sort of build that. But there's a lot of other things that you've got to do, I suppose, as to run a business and make it that successful as well.
I mean, if they'd have told me how much there was to do from the outset, maybe I would have stuck with an employed job. But no, you're spot on. So I'm kind of head of operations, head of marketing, head of sales, head of advice.
It's great for the CV, really, isn't it?
It is. It's one of
Amazing.
those ones I've kind of found myself, no, was it Friday going, oh, I want to do that. And then was like, right, I need to do some admin to get that set up. I then need to send that to somewhere else. And then I need to work out how to do that. None of which I'd ever done before. And
Uh,
now I'm having to do everything.
yeah.
So it's a baptism by fire, I think.
Are you sort of learning from other advisors along in the process? Are there people that you can sort of turn to and say, how'd you do this?
So like as a profession, I think we're a very caring, very nurturing group of people. So I sit on the PFS power panel and
Yeah.
every one of the team there has kind of offered time and help. I've got WhatsApp groups of other advisors that are always willing to kind of share, and it's kind of passing on that help. So like, I'm only a couple or 3 weeks into it, but
Yeah.
I'm 3 months down the line of doing the process. So I'm now helping someone else who's joining the network that I'm with just kind of navigate that. So I think it's a great group of people that I'm fortunately surrounded by and have been massively supporting in all of this.
Yeah, I do get that impression that although, in some extent you're probably competitors of trying to go after clients, there doesn't feel that. It feels more of a collaboration and coming together and sharing the knowledge and insights and things that have worked, things that haven't.
And for me, I don't see that competitive aspect. I think there's enough
Enough to go.
people that need financial advice out there. And for me, I would, as I said earlier, I'd rather somebody have an advisor that they want to work with. And if they pick a different advisor because they're the right one for them, great, because they're going to get financial advice that they're going to implement and is going to see them better off. I'll be great for some people, I won't be great for others. Same with everybody else. So I think there's it's that scarcity mindset, isn't it, that people get into. I actually think there's plenty to go around.
Yeah. Talking of which, then, that sort of leads quite nicely onto this topic of the advice gap that we hear talked about quite a bit. So, potentially the amount of people that could be getting access to advice aren't, is part of that issue that we don't have enough advisors in the profession as well. You mentioned the PFS, just seeing that they've done a £1 million investment to try and attract and encourage new talent as well. So there's lots of initiatives going on, like we sort of said. What's your thoughts? Advice gap, problem, not a problem?
who knows? I think it depends on what you think the advice gap is and who needs that advice. I'll look at my two stepchildren who are in their kind of early 20s, could not care less about
Yeah.
money. They're too busy trying to solve what they want to do with their lives, let alone think about kind of pensions or insurances. Although I will say that Lucy did go and get income protection when she got her first job, so thumbs up there.
Many
I think
people do, actually. So income protection, that's quite a big one.
yeah, she wanted to make sure she was covered, so we sorted her out. I think the bigger one for me though is it's kind of the children of clients. We talk about kind of I suppose, let's say the grandchildren, the people in their early 20s that need the advice gap. I've spoken to clients in the last couple of years who are in their 60s and their children are in their kind of late 30s, early 40s that still don't know about money. So I think perhaps the first part of solving that advice gap is actually how do we look at, I suppose, clients holistically in terms of their money and the people that are going to inevitably inherit from them, to make sure that they're educated enough in that. So I think for me, that's probably a bigger focus than necessarily being able to solve for people in their kind of 20s. Although,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, financial education for those people or for that group of people would be phenomenally good compared to what it is now. I think when we talk about the advice gap in itself, I think it's not even a few generations removed.
I think if most people don't even know what financial advice or planning is, then, if you spoke to the average person on the street, they wouldn't know that there's a financial advice gap
Yeah.
exists in the first place either. But you mentioned in terms of that sort of, the pensions and engagement and things like that, is part of it just the language we use, that it just does, if someone in your 20s, oh, that seems like it's a problem for another day, that's miles away, I don't need to
I
worry
mean,
about.
it's a problem for another decade, isn't it? I even for me, kind of sitting here, I'm in my late 30s, I'm not going to be able to get my pension for another 20
Yeah.
years. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the next 20 years. And so much can change. Kind of go 20 years ago, I was just turning 18. So that's a
No.
huge amount of time that's gone.
It's a scary thought, actually, how
It
fast
is.
time is going.
So you talk to somebody kind of at 18, go, you need to think about your future. Go, it's 40 years away. There's no concept even for kind of people even in their 40s going, can you imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years when you retire? So I think, yes, the language, but also the priorities. I think,
You've got more immediate competing,
yeah, you
haven't you?
want to buy a house or get a deposit to rent somewhere, or you just want to go traveling for a bit, or you've got some life to live and some parties to go to and some times to enjoy. I think it's really getting a balance right for kind of that group of people to make sure that they are enjoying themselves, because they have got years ahead of them to make up some of that time as well.
Yeah, but that intergenerational piece does seem like there's a real opportunity there, that if you are advising clients of a certain age, and like you said, their grown-up children have no idea and they're potentially likely to inherit this money at some point and then think no idea what to do with this or how this all works. If advisors can be getting people involved earlier in the process, or sort of saying, okay, have you had a chat with your children or their children or anything like that, or would it be worth me having a chat with them at some stage?
And I think, whilst we can complain, or people can complain about pensions forming part of your estate for inheritance tax now, I think it has given some people the motivation to be able to give some of their money away, which is kind of prompting some of these conversations. So, kind of the last 6 months or so, clients that didn't want to go and kind of pass money on and they were just going to leave it all in their pension pot for when they'd gone, were now wanting to engage and then having individual kind of financial planning meetings with their children to give it away now whilst they can, to avoid some of that. So perhaps that might be a bit of a motivator for people to start passing it on and have more of that conversation now than in another 20 years time.
And in a way, there is that thing of, where pensions always meant to be for your sort of private retirement, I suppose. And there was always probably a bit of a weird glitch in the system, maybe. But equally, that you can start benefiting and seeing, I suppose, if you're pass that on and go, actually, I can see that that's made an impact to my child's life or grandchild's life or whatever that is, rather than sort of thinking, oh, one day they'll inherit this money, I suppose, and then it's up to them what they do with it.
I mean, what's the saying? Give with a warm heart rather than a cold hand. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the best thing you can do, surely. I think
Yeah.
we all want to see the benefit of people that we've helped. That's human nature. So to give people the confidence that they can give it away and then they can see the benefit of it, if that's paying for the families to go on holiday, get them all together, kind of just treat the kids more or the grandkids more, then that's got to bring that kind of joy and contentment, which will be way better to live that than it is to stare at some figures on a.
Oh, absolutely. So I'd imagine obviously no two clients are exactly the same, but are there any common things that people are coming to you with? Was that sort of announcement something that has prompted a lot of conversations in terms of IHT and pensions being in the mix, or is there something else entirely that you're noticing a bit more of?
I think it's certainly on that aspect, the people that wanted to do something, it just prompted them to actually take
Yeah.
action now rather than necessarily talk about it. It's a mix, really, isn't it? I think the majority of people that I've been kind of helping over the last few years have all come with something in mind. So I don't think you can get away from financial planning being that kind of life event or
Yeah.
motivator. So the, oh God, I've just got to 50, I really should think about that, is quite common. I've just had a big bonus was another one. What do I do with it? So I think people are kind of, they need to be kind of pushed by some form of motivating factor to get them to come and speak to someone. I think it's very, very rare that somebody would just pop along going, "Do you know what? Financial planning's just got to the top of my to-do list today. I thought I'd come and say hello."
I mean, it would be lovely, wouldn't it? It would be
No,
lovely
it'd be
to get to that.
brilliant.
But I've been writing about it for long enough, and then sort of even me, I'm sort of like, okay, well, slightly above average, awareness of this, and even some of those things haven't quite got to the top of the to-do list for
Have
me.
you got a financial planner then?
No, exactly. See,
There you go.
no, absolutely terrible, and I've just admitted it to an audience, including financial planners. So I might be inundated, Kate. It's going to be it could be But what is there anything you feel that the wider industry could be doing better for clients? Is there anything that we're sort of letting clients down with, and we could just sort of be trying to improve on?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a
I kind
tough.
of go back to the previous answer and kind of getting them to spend more money. I think we work in a profession where, fortunately, unfortunately, we make our money on, or a lot of people do, on assets under management. And I think there's always the temptation there, isn't there, to go, oh, that's how I'm making money. But I think for clients, just get them to spend it. Like, I think the success of a financial planner is down to, I always ask clients, or tell clients to imagine that they're 80 something years old and they're sat in the nice little chair where you have to press the button to stand up, and you've got a few friends around and they're saying that have had all these amazing experiences. Do you want to be the person that can share your stories in that? Or do you want to be sat there just regretting not doing what you could have done? So I think for me, it's trying harder to get people to spend money or to understand them so that you can help them choose to do it, because there's going to be nothing worse than kind of being that far ahead in the future going, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, but I didn't.
Yeah, and I think obviously not sort of going reckless, but I'd rather regret doing something than not doing something. You were saying it's the right thing of taking on this new role and doing that. I'm in a similar position, joined Octo at the beginning of July. You know, there are things I'm like, oh, should I, shouldn't I? All of that always sort of plays, but I'd rather sort of go, yeah, I've given that a try and see that that works out okay. And if not, I suppose you try something else. But that money thing of, I think that fear that gets associated with it as well. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the sort of growth agenda and things like that, and trying to make people not feel so terrified. And I suppose in a way that there's been these risk warnings and various things with the industry, and then it's like, oh yeah, I don't know, should I do that, shouldn't I do that? That's playing with money. Can I afford to lose these things? And you know, you hear people sort of going, oh, I don't want to gamble, and you're like, oh no, it's not quite that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
It's
bit,
the risk of doing nothing is just as much as the risk of doing something, isn't it? You can't get away with any no action or some action. And I
yeah,
think it's just being able to demonstrate it to people. So I sit in a world where I've only known cash flow planning. I've only ever done cash flow planning. I had cash flow planning as a client, and I think it massively helps people visualize what their
yeah.
money looks like rather than it just being a number. So perhaps making sure that we're rolling that out across all aspects of financial advice can kind of bring people's money to life.
That feels so important, especially when you were saying about some of those time horizons where people are thinking, oh, I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years' time. I don't know what's going to happen a bit further down the line. I think that really helps play into that of like, okay, well, let's play around with this and sort of test out a few different scenarios and how that might look. And actually, even if we do this, you still can afford to do this. And even if we change that, you still can afford to do that. Okay, so we'll finish up with, is there a money rule, a personal money rule that you live by, Kate, or something? I know you can't give, you know, regulated advice to anyone of our listeners, but is there something that they should be trying to think about at least?
I was going to say, I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. I'm going to admit this in front of other financial advisors. I tell people to spend money and I'm atrocious at it.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So you're not living by your own.
I'm
own
on that one, I'm not. And I'm trying to get better at it.
yeah.
Like I'm a serial hoarder.
I have
Uh,
to admit, I'm pretty similar, Kate. I think I've always sort of thought reasonably well with the money side, sort of save regularly and things like that. But when it does come to spending, there is that weird guilty feeling of, oh, should I be doing that? Which, you know, I probably should come and speak to someone like you or a different one as well, but to allow me and get that permission, like you said earlier.
yeah, exactly that.
So there we go then. Permission as well to you, Kate, to try and live by what you're teaching everybody else.
Oh, I think it's more that I can't be bothered to go into the shops to buy things, and then it's just too much aggro to go and do it, so I just never get round to it.
Absolutely. No, it's not always the material things as well, is it? It's not
No,
always help. But thank you very much for joining us, and
that's been
thank
a pleasure.
you for our listeners.
Thank you.
Brilliant.